I would now like to invite our next speaker, Mr. K.S. Rao, CEO of Telecom Services at Sterlite Technologies. Mr. Rao.
My co-speakers on the dais and distinguished guests on the TLF forum, and ladies and gentlemen, very good morning to all of you. I know we have 15 minutes to share between me and Malazi, and that's how industry always looks at consolidating. I think digital disruption and consolidation, these are two consolidation disruption I see. I don't know whether disruption is making consolidation or consolidation is leading to disruption. I think it's very interesting to hear from all the speakers. I'm going to take all of you to a different plane. I think we had Harmin speaking about Consumer 2.0, and I think Rajan talking about how regulatory, how market dynamics are forcing consolidation, and a very heavy tech presentation from Mr. Shelker from Cisco. I'll take you to a very different plane of human side of this entire thing. What digital networks can change the lives of people? How a country like India can get an impact out of this. So I believe what good is development if it is actually not reaching to villages and rural communities? What good is technology if it is not improving quality of lives where it matters? What good is digital transformation if it cannot create impactful transformation to a country like us? Otherwise, rest everything will become, I think, based on what industry trends, we always have both past and future trends. I think important factor that I would like to see is that we are getting into a fourth age of humanity. We are humans, we became civilians. I think we get into doing commerce. What next? I think it's becoming digital. And we are going to become digital humans. I think what makes digital human happening? I think if you look at Chris Skinner talking about, it's not just people getting connected on number of devices. It actually can eradicate poverty of the entire world. A digital inclusion can actually eradicate poverty in the entire globe. It's such a powerful transformation. What makes it happen? What makes all of us to feel that we are digitally connected? It can actually bring a digital inclusion, which can actually improvise country economics. There are 9 pillars which are actually every country has focused. And if you look at all 9 pillars, most of the countries have actually focused on some of it, actually ignored many of the aspects which led to not a great transformation in terms of digital transformation in the global arena. If you look at some of it, and let's see how this digital transformation is being measured in terms of your rate of change versus the impact that you create. India is in the breakout side today. A lot of growth, a lot of momentum, but I think we haven't been able to make a good impression around how a digital inclusion can happen, how digital transformation is taking place with the rate of change of growth. But the positive side of it is, we are at the stage where, with this momentum that is happening in the country, in the industry today, if you focus on the right things, probably we have a very good chance to become in the standout countries. That's a great opportunity that we as a country have today. What supports this is great demand. I think all of us know what's happening in industry. I think I had some of my co-speakers speaking about it. The internet penetration has moved up to 35%, and also data consumption has been 15 times more. And you find that 797 million of people, I think, using connected devices. What happens in the next 5 years? This is going crazy. I think you talk about anything, I think it will be exponential growth. 47% penetration and 10x more data usage and 1.3 billion connected devices in the country. But all this story, I think, will not make us to achieve what we should be achieving as a country in terms of digital connectivity. There is something else which is very important to focus, a strong infrastructure. I think most of the countries who have focused this as a key success factor have been able to move faster than India. I think this is a very important factor that India as a country must focus. We need a digital network to change the lives of people, but it cannot be the traditional networks which are built in the past several decades. Most of the networks, because I just saw Consumer 2.0, what Harmin said, the consumer applications are shifting. The citizens are actually demanding different kinds of applications. All of that cannot be possible without innovating your networks for future. I think our networks need to be programmable, both in terms of hardware and software. It actually gives a huge level of leverage for the network owner to continuously deploy new cutting-edge services for the consumer, changing experiences. Also, I think it needs to be an open source. With the API and interfaces changing, it has to be vendor neutral, because all the critical applications that consumers are demanding is going to be requiring huge level of automation. So they have to be an open source. And disaggregated, because if you see both the hardware and software being separated today, I think the disaggregation is giving an opportunity for other service players to deploy new services without actually understanding the complexity of the networking itself. You don't need to get confused about, so the software and hardware layers are getting disaggregated, which is also good. So I think when we say that this is not good enough only to creating a network infrastructure, I think there are 4 things to, in my understanding, a great vision like this, a great country like us, and a great infrastructure will only happen if it is built through a balanced approach. Because it is not any one organization's, efforts which can make it happen. We all spoke about, there are 4 pillars. If you talk about demand, I think I fully agree with what Harmin said. I think with this, citizens are actually, there is a push happening around high-end applications which are coming into lifestyles of all of us. All of that would require, I think, a low latency networks and high agile and high-speed networks. And that means you have to look at addressing this demand very differently in terms of getting networks of future, getting all the innovation into it. The second aspect is that understanding the entire network capacity creation in the country. I think there is a supply-demand gap here. And usually, I think there was a time when which I think fiber was a second fiddle to wireless. It was okay to consider this as a digging job. But I think fiber is in the core today. I think without fiber, it's not in the backhaul. It's everywhere in the network. And there has to be, I think, industry need to bring in some of the innovative ideas to see how can we lead this network capacity creation. It's not just a digging a job. It's like putting a network with a technology-led planning, technology-led enablement. So there has to be a lot of investments in this area, which is also very important to create a capacity. Third important thing is the institution. I think what Rajan spoke about, I fully agree, that just setting a policy is not good enough. I think we have seen in Indian telecom industry for many years, telecom policy has remained in setting intent, but I think the current year in 2018, I could see telecom policy has moved into a digital communication policy with not only intent, but also there is a framework in which the efficacy of the policy has been brought into attention. This is the first time I could see that NDCP is actually really focusing the right areas which should be, a country should look forward. I think that's not only sufficient, I think it requires a government intent and ability to make the infrastructure as a critical, essential infrastructure for the, it won't happen without doing ease of doing business correction. We know that India has been, I think, 100th rank in ease of doing business in 2017. I think all of entire industry and government is putting together to see, can we move up to 50th rank in next 5 years? I think it's a lot of work to be done. I think this is an area which also requires a focus if you have to really change the country in terms of digital transformation. The last and then not the least, but the innovation. I think, as I said, that the networks will be of very complex in nature or required to be built in a much scaler, hyperscale networks. All this requires a huge level of innovation in attempting something that we have never practiced it. We have never actually implemented in this industry. Be it with fiber networks, be it with most complex technologies, all we just heard from other speakers, all of that would require a significant amount of, I think, innovation in terms of deploying these networks that are required. If you look at all this balanced approach, putting all this digital human at the core of country, and also looking at balancing this through all digital networks through all the 4 pillars which are to be supported. And we believe, I think this impact will be transformational. I think a digital India, which is focusing on digital Indian, actually can bring a 20 to 30% GDP growth and create $1 trillion opportunity, annualized opportunity for the country to take it forward. And all of this can happen because it's not just a telecom industry. It is basically a larger purpose to see how we can improve economy of the country to eradicate poverty in the country using digital inclusion. That's it. I just wanted to thank you very much for giving this opportunity, Ibrahim. So I hope I made some time out of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Rao. I think a very comprehensive presentation, and obviously he's been sort of stressing on the balanced approach, and I would just like to add that the balanced approach would also mean more synergies and more cooperation between the various stakeholders as we go along. Thank you so much.